All right, so today we're going to dive into this ancient text that is a message that is frankly shockingly modern. It really makes us look past, that superficial, skin-deep kind of faith and asks a really tough question. What does it actually mean to be authentic?
And that brings us to this question, right? What proves my worth? I mean, this is something we all wrestle with, don't we? In a world that is just constantly measuring us, we're kind of desperate to build a case for our own value, to prove that we matter. But what are we even using to build that case?
Well, a lot of the time we do it with this list of specs, kind of like you'd see for a new laptop or a phone. We piece together our identity from our degree, our job title, our social status, and yeah, even our religious titles and affiliations. These become these solid walls we build around ourselves to feel safe and secure.
But here's the thing. This text we're looking at points out a huge problem with this whole approach. It calls it the identity gap. And it's this giant chasm, this gap, between all our external labels and achievements, what we have, and our internal reality, who we actually are. And when those two don't line up, it just creates this deep, nagging sense of emptiness.
Okay, so how does the text deal with this gap? Well, it starts by laying down a universal standard. The argument here is that judgment isn't based on your background or who you know. Nope, it's based on a single, impartial principle that applies to absolutely everyone, everywhere.
And the foundational claim here is that this judgment is totally and completely fair. It doesn't matter if you have a special religious law or not. No one gets a free pass because of their privilege. Everyone is accountable. And this is where we get to the absolute core of the principle. The text makes this super critical distinction. It's not enough to just be a hearer of a moral code. What really matters, what counts, is being a doer. Just knowing stuff is basically worthless if you don't actually put it into practice.
So you might be wondering, what about people who don't have a formal religious law? Well, the text argues that everyone, and I mean everyone, operates within this kind of inner courtroom. There's a moral standard that's basically written on the heart. Our conscience acts like a witness, and our own thoughts are constantly either accusing us or defending us. It's like this internal compass that exists in every single person.
And this judgment, it's not just about what people see. It goes way deeper than our public persona. It gets into the secrets, the hidden motives, the private thoughts, the real truth of our inner lives. In this courtroom, there is absolutely nowhere to hide.
All right, so now this universal standard gets applied to a specific case study. The text zooms in on this group of people who had all the right external religious credentials, the perfect specs. On the surface, they had it all figured out.
And man, their spiritual resume was impressive. They built their entire identity on having the law, they boasted about their special relationship with God, and they saw themselves as these enlightened guides for everyone else. Their whole sense of worth was wrapped up in this idea that they were superior. They felt completely untouchable, or so they thought.
But then, the text just completely flips the script. It hits them with this rapid-fire series of rhetorical questions. It's like a courtroom cross-examination that just completely dismantles their proud exterior, piece by piece.
The very first question cuts right to the heart of it all. You, then, who teach others, do you not teach yourself? Boom, right there. It exposes that massive gap between their public persona and their private reality.
And the questions just keep coming, getting more and more uncomfortably specific. They highlight this glaring contradiction between what they say and what they do. And the real issue here isn't just about stealing, for example. It's the sheer hypocrisy of publicly slamming the very things you're doing in secret.
And here's the kicker. The result of this identity gap wasn't just some private, personal failure. No, it was a public disaster. Their hypocrisy actually caused outsiders to mock God. So their actions didn't just hurt themselves, they were damaging the reputation of the very God they claimed to represent. Think about that. So, if all these external credentials, these specs, can end up being totally worthless, what's the alternative? This is where the text pivots and offers a really radical redefinition of what a true identity marker actually is.
The text uses this incredibly powerful example for the group it's talking to, circumcision. It was this core religious marker for them. And the argument is that the symbol itself only has value if it reflects a life of integrity. If your actions totally contradict what that symbol is supposed to mean, then it becomes meaningless. It's just an empty sign. And this all builds to the absolute climax of the argument, where we see these profound contrasts laid out side by side. True identity isn't about what you look like on the outside, but who you are on the inside. It's not about a physical mark on the body, but a transformed heart.
It's not about just robotically following a written code, but about a real, dynamic change led by God's Spirit. And this is huge. It completely redefines who we're living for. Are we performing for people, or are we performing for God?
This central idea is called the circumcision of the heart. And it's such a powerful metaphor, right? It's talking about a deep internal change, almost like a spiritual surgery that you can't possibly do on yourself. It's about a total transformation of your core being, one that's carried out by God's Spirit.
So this whole process of tearing down these external identity markers, it forces us to look in the mirror and confront the modern idols that keep us trapped in that same identity gap.
You know, this ancient problem is fueled by some very modern idols. We worship the idol of knowledge, where we're so proud of what we know, but we fail to actually do it. We have the idol of reputation, where protecting our public image is more important than our private integrity. And then there's the idol of formalism, where we are so focused on the outward religious acts, but our hearts stay exactly the same.
The solution the text offers is a pretty radical reorientation of our entire lives. It demands that we shift our focus completely away from trying to get praise from people, and instead, to live for an audience of one, God. And so, that brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? As you think about your own specs, your career, your accomplishments, your reputation, you have to ask yourself, who is my real audience? Is the life I'm building right now designed to win the approval of people, or is it designed to win the approval of God?